Britain's top health official says antibiotic resistance could be a catastrophic threat to the future of medicine. She's calling for pharmaceutical companies to focus on developing new drugs, as Emma Haywood reports.
Simon Richardson is one of around 440,000 people globally who each year contract TB, which is resistant to drugs, making it much harder to treat.
I found out I had TB, which was bad enough. When they said I had resistant TB, it was just hard to pick myself back up again. But yeah, the side effects were awful. Like, I would wish it upon my worst enemy.
Antibiotics were first made available in the 1930s, but it wasn't until a decade later that the mass production of penicillin began. Now, globally, we take millions of antibiotics every year, but we're becoming increasingly resistant to them. And resistance makes it harder to treat people with bacterial infections. Sometimes the more antibiotics a patient takes, the more resistant they become to the drugs that are supposed to help them. Organisms such as bacteria, viruses and some parasites can then withstand an attack from standard treatments such as antibiotics and antivirals. Resistance happens because the organism can then mutate its genes and survive.
Today, the Chief Medical Officer is calling for global action and has made 17 recommendations, including better hygiene in schools, hospitals, care homes and public places to prevent infections, putting pressure on GPs to prescribe antibiotics only if absolutely necessary, and putting the issue on the National Risk Register alongside terrorism and climate change.
As a public, we need to accept that many infections that take us to GPs or keep us at home don't need antibiotics, don't demand an antibiotic and put ridiculous pressure on the GPs. All it's doing is building antimicrobial resistance, and we're giving a dreadful future for our children and grandchildren.
A new infectious disease is discovered every year, but there have been almost no new classes of antibiotics discovered since 1987. So here's the circle that nobody can quite square. How do you encourage companies like GlaxoSmithKline, AstraZeneca and others to pump money into antibiotics while telling doctors not to prescribe them and patients not to take them? It doesn't make much financial sense. Until there are new drugs available, which may not be for decades, the message is loud and clear. The human race must cut down on its use of antibiotics or face a future of major risks from minor surgery.